So Anthony, American Ninja Warrior just got its third consecutive Emmy nomination for Best Reality Competition Series. It took a while for you guys to get into the Emmy race, but now you're a staple of it. I'm curious, why do you think Emmy voters have finally caught up to your show and are now not just nominated for Reality Competition Series, but you're also in some other categories this year as well?
Well, I think it did take a little bit of time for the Emmy voters to catch up with society at large. You know, the show grew tremendously in season 6. We're now in season 10. Season 6, we had huge growth in viewership, in sort of cultural awareness, and in cultural relevance. And so I think, like anything, it just takes a little time for voters in any category to catch up with that. And once they did, they started to acknowledge the impact of the show and the value of the show. And this year, as you mentioned, we got 2 more nominations. The previous 2 years, we'd only gotten 1 in the reality competition category. This year, we got them in directing and editing as well. And we're really honored and grateful and hopeful this year that maybe we'll get our first trophy.
Where do you think the appeal of this show with viewers comes from? What do you think keeps people watching it?
Well, I think it's aspirational, and I think that there's a fitness craze that's been developing in this country. I think people are looking for a way to get fit, a way to stay fit, and a way to do it that sort of breaks the monotony of going to the gym and lifting weights and doing all those things that are tough to get motivated to do. And seeing people that look like you or look like your neighbors or you may even know achieving things that they couldn't do just a few weeks ago or months ago and getting better and hitting goals is a fun way to challenge ourselves and get ourselves into the shape that we always dream we could be in.
Right. Well, I mean, there's always been this fascination with and reverence for athletes as icons.
Yeah.
And what makes this show unique is that your athletes are people who are everyday folks. Some of them are overcoming some kind of sickness or ailment or disability. So where do you find your contestants for this show? What do you look for in an American Ninja Warrior?
Well, we're lucky enough now that people come to us. We get tens of thousands of people applying to compete on the show every year. They go through a pretty rigorous process of an online application, and they have to send in a 3-minute video and pitch themselves to us. And what we're looking for is, first of all, people that can conquer the course, or at least a good portion of the course. We're looking for people that have a story that's relatable and rootable, something that our viewers can connect to. Sometimes it's overcoming a setback in their personal lives, and sometimes it's just having the sort of life that makes it difficult to train every day the way that you need to in order to achieve to conquer these obstacles. And so we're looking for people that are energetic and excitable and rootable, most of all, that you can connect to.
Well, who were some highlights from this past season? People who really inspired you and who you think really inspired audiences as well?
We had a couple of really remarkable stories this year. We had actually 2 kidney stories, coincidentally. One of them, Kenny Nimatalo, who's competed on the show for a number of years. A couple of years ago, he appealed to our viewers to help find a kidney donor for his daughter who was in critical condition. And one of our viewers, having never met the family, stepped up after watching the show and hearing Kenny's plea and donated a kidney. And his daughter Hazel is now really flourishing. And so Kenny came back this season and he tried to find donors for 2 kids in his local area that needed kidneys, who he had never met before. And he wore a shirt telling people where to donate and pictures of the kids. And he ended up hitting a buzzer and generating awareness for those 2 kids and hopefully getting them kidneys. And we had another competitor this year, 21-year-old Austin Gray, who himself had donated a kidney to a childhood friend, Kaylee Adams, just 4 months before he competed. So 4 months later, he stepped out onto our course. He did incredibly well. He's advanced to our national finals. And again, both of them are just really remarkable stories and very inspiring.
You also just had your big celebrity episode where you've got some very famous and very fit individuals who compete to raise money for charities. Can you tell us a bit about that episode?
Yeah, Red Nose is a really exciting special for us. You know, it's an opportunity, as you mentioned, to generate awareness in a really worthy charity, which helps kids that need food and books and are hungry, essentially. And because our course is daunting, it can be a challenge to find celebrities that are willing to put themselves out there and risk, you know, getting embarrassed and falling in the water. But we had a really nice turnout this year, and raised quite a bit of money for Red Nose. And it's great to see, you know, people who you know always look their best, and to see them in vulnerable positions on a very challenging obstacle course.
Well, that included one of your hosts this year, the Great Akbar, and whose last name I'm always having trouble pronouncing. But can you tell us a little bit about him going the course? I mean, I interviewed him recently, and he talked about how, you know, watching these people compete, he got a little bit envious and wanted to do it himself.
And that was all Akbar's idea. He came to us and said, you know, I kind of want to put my money where my mouth is. And because he commentates on these celebrities going through the course every year, he felt it was only appropriate that he put himself up to the same test. And so he spent the entire year training. He trained with Kevin Bull, one of the elite ninjas, and he drove an hour and a half each direction to go to Kevin's gym and train with him. And, you know, Akbar obviously he's a former professional athlete, so he's in good shape, but he's not a ninja. You know, he weighs 275 pounds, and that doesn't work to your favor on our course. So he slimmed down a little bit. He worked on his grip strength, and he muscled his way through the course, and it was truly inspiring.
Mm-hmm. And he's been with the show for a long time alongside Matt Iseman, who's been with it a little bit longer. What do you think it is about the two of them working together? What kind of special chemistry do they have, and how has it grown over the years?
It really has grown. You know, it's tough to throw two disparate individuals into a booth together and expect chemistry. And it happened pretty fast with those two. And I think it's rooted in their common passion for the show. You know, they're both really genuinely, sincerely inspired by the athletes and by what they see happen in front of them. And so they share that, and they appreciate it together, and they sort of lift each other up as the ninjas lift them up and lift us up. And so they've generated a real dual appreciation for what they're seeing. And it's easy for them then to really appreciate each other's passion for the show.
So take us through the production of a typical episode. I mean, there's so much that I'm assuming must go into it, from the you know, the sets and the contestants and the pyrotechnics and all that stuff. So take us through the production of a typical episode.
Well, what we do is we hit 6 cities, ultimately 7 after we go to Las Vegas, but we go to 6 regions across the country. And so it starts with casting. Months before we go anywhere, we watch thousands of casting tapes trying to find the 600 or 700 people that we're going to invite to compete on the show. And once we've done that, we spread them out over these 6 regions, about 100 people in each region. And then every couple of weeks, we travel to a region and we hold our competition, and we whittle that 100-odd people down to 15 to 17 people that are eventually going to go to Las Vegas. But over the course of those 3 months, we're moving that entire obstacle course from city to city on 18-wheel trucks. And so it's about 16, 18-wheelers that are rolling through your hometown and carrying our course from city to city. And when they get to the next city, they spend about 10 days erecting that set. And then we spend a couple of days running testers through the course, because we have to dial in all the obstacles. You know, it's quite a challenge to get the obstacle course in a position where we have the right amount of success and the right amount of failure, so that the course feels challenging enough and yet not too challenging. We do that over 3 months. We build the course, we hold our competition, we break the course down, we put it on the trucks, and we take it to the next city. And then in between cities, we're already back in post-production. We're starting to build shows. The first one we shoot in March, and it airs in late May. The last one we shoot in June, and it airs in mid-September. So basically from March through October, we are in production and pre-production and putting together. Every Monday, a new 2-hour episode airs. And so we only really get about one solid week to put together that 2-hour show.
Are you ever surprised by the longevity of this series, considering the fact that, you know, you started out on a network that is now defunct, which, you know, by all means could have killed another show, but you guys were able to move over to NBC after that and, you know, not just continue to grow, but, you know, explode in a way. So does it ever surprise you when you think that, this show has, gone on as long as it has?
I think it's remarkable. I mean, it's really unique in this industry to have a show go more than a couple of seasons, and we're in our 10th, and that's really rarefied air. And I attribute it to the competitors. They put so much into getting on the show and making the most of those opportunities and sharing their stories. It's really the stories that are what make this show so special. And every 4 years we tune in to watch the Olympics, sports fans and non-sports fans alike. And I feel like our show is watching a mini Olympics every Monday night. You get an opportunity to hear these incredible stories that you don't hear on a daily basis, and then watching them come to life right in front of you. And sometimes they fail and sometimes they succeed. But either way, you see a beginning and a middle and an end to these stories. And that's something that people can really connect to. And we're looking for an escape, and it's something to do with your family. It's multi-generational, and that's a huge part of the appeal of the show, is the opportunity to watch something on TV with your kids or with your parents that you don't feel like you're watching their thing. You're watching our thing that we can all appreciate together. And there honestly are just not too many shows on TV. Everything is very niche now, understandably, because you're trying to find a small audience through a small outlet, and the networks have room for these bigger shows, and our show is really broad-based, and I guess that's why it's had the legs it has.
Well, so I think, you sort of touched upon this before, but the fact of that, every contestant who goes on, even though you've got a competition series, every contestant that goes on is a winner in a sense, because, they've attempted it.
Yeah. Yeah. We say that all the time, especially for people who are coming back from something really daunting like cancer or a kidney donation or something like that. Just on it, sometimes just stepping onto the course is a victory in and of itself. We had a woman. You asked about great stories this year, and I neglected to mention Enadina Stanger. It might be the most incredible story we've ever had. Viewers of the show might remember 4 years ago, Michael Stanger walked onto our course, and his wife was in a wheelchair. She has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which in her case, could have been fatal. They told her she had a year or two to live. Michael hit a buzzer that night, and it was in honor of his wife on the sidelines with their 2 young daughters. And over the course of the last few years, she's gotten a little bit healthier through some sort of alternative medicines. And this year, against all odds, and that's underselling it, she actually stepped out onto our course, up out of the wheelchair onto the course. I can't think of anything more moving than that. And the fact that she got through a few of the steps on the first obstacle was absolutely heartwarming and incredible, and speaks to, like I said, it's about the athletes, and it speaks to the effort that they put into appearing on this show.
Well, Anthony, thank you so much for your time, and good luck at the Emmys. Congratulations on another season. You're welcome. Have a good one.